Welcome back, everyone. It is Saturday, February 7th, 2026. I have to be honest with you. I woke up this morning, looked at my phone, looked at the sheer volume of notifications, updates, and alerts, and I felt it again. That buzzing in the back of my head.
The caffeine hasn't kicked in yet.
No, well, yes, that too. But I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about security vertigo.
Ah, that feeling. I know it well.
You know what I mean, right? It's that dizzying sensation when you look at your organization's infrastructure map, if you even have one that's accurate, and you realize your data isn't sitting in that nice cold server room down the hall anymore.
Nope, it's everywhere.
It's fragmented, it's distributed, it's floating in the ether across, three different clouds,
Yeah.
a dozen sauce apps, and some edge devices you probably forgot about, and you just have this sinking realization.
I'm not sure who's watching the door.
Exactly. Who is actually guarding the gates?
It's a very real phenomenon. And honestly, if you aren't feeling a little bit of that vertigo right now, you probably aren't paying close enough attention.
That's a scary thought.
The perimeter we used to rely on, the castle walls, they didn't just crumble. They evaporated.
The evaporated. That's the perfect word. And that brings us to today's deep dive. We aren't just talking about a checklist today. We aren't talking about some dusty compliance PDF you sign once a year to make the auditors go away.
Not at all.
We are talking about the nervous system of the modern internet. We are talking about the DNA of cloud trust. We are doing a deep dive into the Cloud Security Alliance, or CSA.
This is foundational stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
truly foundational. If you are a cloud architect, a CISO, or just someone trying to keep your head above water in this industry, the CSA isn't optional knowledge. It's the bedrock.
Okay, before we really get into the weeds, and trust me, we are going to get into the weeds,
Yeah.
I want to set the stage properly for everyone.
Let's do it.
Welcome to InfoSec Bytes, your go-to podcast for bite-sized insights on information security, AI, cloud, quantum, and cybersecurity incident root cause analysis. With over 100 episodes, we've got you covered on the latest trends and tips. This year, we will focus more on cloud computing along with other topics, so stay tuned. Please like, subscribe, and share to join the conversation on various platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and stay secure.
Love the energy today. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have a massive stack of research here. White papers, the framework documents themselves, articles. Our mission today is to decode how the CSA went from really just a group of concerned pros to the global standard for trust.
And to do that, you have to understand the chaos that came before.
Exactly. To understand the value of what they built, I think we have to appreciate the mess we were in before they existed.
We need to go back in time.
Let's travel back to 2008.
The Stone Age of the cloud. I feel old just saying it.
2008. The first iPhone is barely a year old. People are still renting physical DVDs from Blockbuster. And in the IT world, paint the picture for us. What was the vibe?
It was the Wild West.
Yeah.
That is genuinely the only way to describe it. You have to remember, companies were just starting to flirt with the idea of moving from on-premise iron, big physical servers in their own basements to this nebulous thing called the cloud.
Nebulous is the right word.
But the rules, there were no rules, none.
So if I'm a bank in 2008 and I want to put some, customer data on Amazon Web Services, which was just a toddler back then, how do I know it's safe?
You didn't. That was the entire problem. We had a massive cloud security gap. The auditors back then were using frameworks like SAS 70.
SAS 70, wow, now there's a blast from the past. I'd almost managed to forget that one.
Right, but SAS 70 was designed for financial reporting controls. It was never, ever designed for multi-tenant virtualized environments.
So what did that mean in practice?
It meant you had this absurd situation where a cloud provider could technically pass an audit just by showing they had a lock on the front door of the data center.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. Meanwhile, they might have had zero encryption on the virtual machines, no network segmentation, but the audit wouldn't even catch it. It wasn't designed to look for it.
So it was just theater.
It was pure security theater. And it was dangerous because traditional security paradigms were built for castles and moats. You build a wall, you put a guard at the door, and you trust everything inside.
And that model is completely broken in the cloud.
Completely. The cloud is multi-tenant. It's like living in a giant apartment building where you can't see your neighbors, but you share the plumbing and the electrical wiring with them.
And you have no idea if your neighbor is a nice grandmother or a state-sponsored hacker.
Precisely. And back then, you had no way to check. Transparency was a luxury that almost no one could afford. There were inconsistent definitions of what secure even meant. A provider might say, yeah, we're secure, but their definition is totally different from yours or your regulators.
It was a crisis of trust.
A total crisis of trust.
And this is where the Cloud Security Alliance enters the chat.
November 2008, the ISA CISO Forum in Las Vegas.
It sounds like the start of a heist movie, a bunch of experts gathering in Vegas to pull off a job.
It was a heist of common sense, really. You had these industry veterans like Jim Rivas and Nils Pullman. And the important thing is, these weren't just academics writing papers in an ivory tower.
No, these were practitioners.
Exactly. People in the trenches who looked at where the industry was going, driving 100 miles per hour toward a cliff without a map and said, whoa, okay, we need a bridge.
A bridge between who? What were they connecting?
Between the cloud service providers, CSPs, the AWSs and Microsofts, and the customers, enterprises. They realized that if we didn't standardize how we talk about security, how we measure it, the cloud market would never mature because nobody would trust it.
Now, I want to highlight something from the research that I think is absolutely critical and it's easy to gloss over. The CSA is a nonprofit.
Crucial point. Absolutely crucial.
Why does that matter so much? I mean, why couldn't Google or Microsoft just release a security standard and have everyone follow it?
Because of bias.
Yeah.
A fundamental conflict of interest. If a vendor tells you a standard is good, your first reaction is skepticism.
Of course.
You assume they wrote the standard to fit their own product. Hey, look, our product is 100% compliant with the standard we just wrote for ourselves. It doesn't work.
Right. It's like a fox writing the security standards for the henhouse.
That's a perfect analogy. The CSA was formed as a member-driven nonprofit. It wasn't a sales pitch. It became, and I think this is a great term for them, the architects of governance.
And the scale of it today is just, I mean, numbers in the research are wild, over 80,000 individual members.
And that's not just a vanity metric. It's what gives them legitimacy. It ensures consensus. When the CSA releases a guidance document on, say, container security, it's not one guy's opinion.
No.
It's been chewed on, argued over, and refined by thousands of experts from every sector: banking, healthcare, government, tech. It's been battle-tested before it's even published.
And it's global, right? I noticed in the notes they have separate legal entities in Europe and Asia Pacific.
They have to. You cannot have a global standard that ignores local reality.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. If you are operating in Germany, you have GDPR and the BSI to worry about.
The Federal Office for Information Security.
Exactly. If you are in Singapore, you have the Monetary Authority of Singapore, the MAS, and their guidelines. The CSA acts as a translation layer, a global bridge that respects those regional nuances while keeping the core security language consistent.
So we have the origin story, the Wild West, this deep lack of trust, and the formation of this neutral nonprofit body to try and fix it.
Yep.
Now let's talk about the tool they built to fix it, the big one, the North Star.
The Cloud Controls Matrix, the CCM.
I like to call this the Rosetta Stone of compliance. Because before this, you had engineers speaking one language, ports and protocols, and auditors speaking another, risk and governance, and they were just yelling past each other in meetings.
That's a great analogy, because it's true. The CCM translates those abstract security needs, like data must be protected, into a concrete, actionable framework of controls.
But let's play devil's advocate for a second. I've seen a lot of frameworks. Our listeners have seen them too. We've seen NIST 853. We've seen ISO 27001. Why do we need another one? Is the CCM just another spreadsheet to fill out?
That is the question I hear most often from CISOs. Not another framework. And I get it. But here's the difference. NIST 853 is fantastic. But it was originally written for federal information systems. It's heavy, it's dense.
And can be a bit clunky to apply to, say, a serverless function.
Exactly. And ISO 27001 is a management framework. It tells you how to manage security. It defines your ISMS. But it's not super prescriptive about what technical controls to implement in a Kubernetes cluster.
So the CCM is purpose-built for the cloud. It's cloud native in its DNA.
That's exactly. It maps to all those others. It maps to NIST, to ISO, to PCI. But its DNA is cloud native. It was born in the cloud.
Let's get granular. We are currently looking at version 4.1. Structurally, what are we dealing with?
We're looking at 17 domains and 197 specific control objectives.
197, that is a very specific number. Why not an even 200?
It is, and that specificity is important. It shows it's not arbitrary. It's the result of consensus. Each control is there because a working group of experts agreed it was necessary.
And what do these domains cover?
It's the whole waterfront. You have the classic like identity and access management, IAM, audit and assurance. But then you have these very cloud-specific domains like interoperability and portability, or data center security, DCS.
I want to zoom in on the evolution here. We moved from V3 to V4 and then to 4.1. Was this just a facelift? Did they just change the font and move the columns around?
Far from it. The move to V4 and then the refinement to 4.1 was driven by a fundamental shift in the threat landscape of, 2024 and 2025.
Give me a specific example. What changed in the world that forced the CCM to change?
Okay, a great one is the log and monitor (LOG) domain. In previous versions, the focus was mostly on are you logging and are you reviewing the logs?
Which seems pretty basic table stakes.
It is. But in V4.1, there's a specific heightened focus on audit log sanitization.
Sanitization. Now hold on. As a security investigator, that word makes me nervous. If you start sanitizing my logs, aren't you deleting evidence I might need during a breach investigation?
And that is the tension, right? You've hit on the exact problem. But here is the new reality. Telemetry logs, the records of what your systems are doing, have become a massive data leak vector.
How so?
Developers, often accidentally, will log full API calls during debugging.
Which might contain
Oh no.
everything. User passwords and clear text, session tokens, personally identifiable information, PII, credit card numbers. We have seen major breaches where the database itself was perfectly encrypted, but the logs had everything in plain text because an app was left in debug mode.
Ouch. So the logs became the path of least resistance for the attacker. They became the crown jewels. So CCM v4.1 introduces controls that say, yes, you must log, but you must also have an automated demonstrable process to scrub sensitive data before it hits the immutable log storage. It's a very delicate balance between visibility for us defenders and privacy for the user.
That makes a lot of sense. It's protecting the evidence locker from becoming a liability itself.
What about data center security, DCS? I feel like we don't talk about physical security enough in the cloud. We sort of assume Amazon has guards and we forget about it.
We absolutely do. But V4.1 brought in a new focus on operational resilience, and this is a direct reflection of the geopolitical instability we've seen over the last few years.
So it's not just about cyber attacks.
No, it's not just, is the server secure from a hacker? It is, can this data center survive a power grid failure, a supply chain disruption for spare parts, or a localized kinetic event?
Kinetic event, that's a very polite way of saying things blowing up. It is. The framework now demands that you verify the provider has resilience plans for things that have nothing to do with code and everything to do with the physical world we live in.
One more domain I want to touch on, cryptography. We talk about quantum computing a lot on this show. Is the CCM ready for the quantum apocalypse?
It's getting there.
Yeah.
The updates in v4.1 heavily, and I mean heavily, emphasize key lifecycle management.
Rotate your keys. We hear that all the time. It feels like basic hygiene.
It's more than just rotation. It's about building for crypto agility.
Crypto agility. Unpack that.
It's the ability to swap out your encryption algorithms without breaking your entire application. Because when quantum computers eventually break RSA 2048 encryption, and they will, you don't want to have to rewrite your entire code base from scratch.
You want it to be a plug-and-play module.
Exactly. You want to be able to swap the key management module for a post-quantum one. The CCM pushes for that kind of architectural separation of concerns.
Okay, so we have the controls. We have the 197 rules. But now we have to talk about probably the most misunderstood concept in cloud computing. The thing that gets more CSOs fired than anything else.
The shared responsibility model.
The famous or infamous pizza as a service analogy. Now look, most of our listeners know the basics. IaaS is take and bake, SaaS is dining out. We know this.
Right.
But I feel like the basic analogy hides the danger. It makes it sound too simple.
It absolutely does. The pizza analogy is cute, it's a good starting point, but it's dangerous if you stop there.
Where does it break down?
It breaks down in what I call the gray zones. And the CCM v4.1 does a lot of work to map these out to bring clarity to them.
Define a gray zone for me. Give me an example.
A gray zone is the space where a customer thinks a control is shared dependent, but the provider treats it as shared independent.
Okay, you're using some specific terms there. Shared dependent versus shared independent. This is technical nuance, but it really, really matters. Break that down.
Okay. Shared independent means we both have to do this task separately, and my work doesn't help you and your work doesn't help me.
Got it.
The classic example is backups. In an IaaS environment like AWS, Amazon ensures their hard drives don't physically melt. That is their backup. But if you, the customer, accidentally type drop table users and delete your entire customer database,
Amazon isn't coming to save you. You're on your own.
no. They will say, The drive's fine, the data on it is gone, but the physical drive is working perfectly. You were supposed to do your independent backup of the data itself.
Okay, that's clear. Now what about shared dependent?
This is trickier. This means I cannot do my security job unless you, the provider, do yours first. My security is dependent on the feature you provide.
Example.
Identity. I, as the customer, need to set a strong password policy. Maybe I want 12 characters, MFA, the whole thing. But I depend on you, the provider, to give me the dashboard, the tool to actually enforce it. If your IAM dashboard is broken or doesn't have those options, I can't do my security.
And the research we looked at suggests this is where the failures happen. Gartner had that terrifying stat predicting that through 2025, 99% of cloud security failures would be the customer's fault.
99%. Think about the emotional weight of that for a second.
Yeah.
You are a CISO. You spend millions on firewalls. You spend millions on endpoint tools. And the breach happens because someone on your team misunderstood who is responsible for configuring the S3 bucket permissions.
It's not a tech failure. It's a communication failure, a contract failure.
It's a failure of understanding the map. That's what the CCM is. It's the map. It forces you to go line by line through those 197 controls and ask the tough question. Is this me? Is this them? Or is this us? If you don't do that mapping, you are flying blind.
So we've got the map, which is the CCM. We know the rules of the road. But now, how do we actually check if the vendors are following them? I can't just call up Microsoft and say, hey, Satya, can you run me through your firewall configs real quick?
You can try.
Yeah.
But you won't get very far.
So how do we solve this audit fatigue problem? Because I know listeners out there are just drowning in vendor security spreadsheets.
This brings us to the next piece of the puzzle. The CAIQ.
Which is pronounced cake.
Sadly, still inedible. The Consensus Assessments Initiative Questionnaire.
I love the acronyms in this field, but effectively this is the standardized RFP, right? The standardized questionnaire.
Yes. And you can't overstate how important this was. Before the CAIQ, the industry was in a state of madness. Every bank, every hospital, every retailer had their own custom security questionnaire. Here are our 500 questions about your security.
And they were all slightly different.
All slightly different. If you are a cloud vendor, you have 10,000 customers sending you 10,000 different spreadsheets. It's a denial of service attack via paperwork.
It's impossible. You'd need an army of interns just to copy-paste answers, and you'd still get it wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the CAIQ standardizes it. It takes the CCM controls and turns them into a massive list of yes-no questions. A vendor answers it once, they document it once, and then they publish it.
And where do they publish it?
They publish it to the STAR registry, security, trust, assurance, and risk.
I like to think of this as the Yelp or Consumer Reports for cloud security, a public place to see who's doing their homework.
That's a fair comparison, but with more legal weight behind it. It's a public, searchable database. But, and this is critical for our listeners, not all STAR entries are created equal. You have to look at the levels. It's a maturity model.
Okay, let's walk through them. Level 1.
Level 1 is self-assessment.
Okay, I'm going to be skeptical here. Self-assessment sounds a lot like I investigated myself and found I did nothing wrong. Is level 1 actually worth anything?
That is a very fair critique. Level 1 is essentially the honor system. The provider fills out the CAIQ, an officer of the company signs it, and they post it.
So it's a pinky promise.
It's a legally binding pinky promise. If they lie, they are liable for fraud. So it's not nothing. But would I trust my core banking ledger or my secret intellectual property to a level 1 provider? Absolutely not.
So it's fine for a cafeteria menu app, but not for PII.
Exactly. For anything serious, anything with sensitive data, you need to be looking at level 2, third-party audit.
This is where the pros live? This is the gold standard for enterprise.
It is. This is where an independent external auditor comes in and verifies the answers.
Yeah.
This combines the CCM with a rigorous established audit standard. And there is a fork in the road here that confuses a lot of people. It's the difference between certification versus attestation.
Okay, break it down for us. What's the difference?
Certification is based on ISO 27001. It validates your management system. Do you have the processes? Do you have the policies? It's binary. It's pass-fail. You're either certified or you're not. It's very popular in Europe and Asia.
Okay. And attestation.
Attestation is based on SOC2. This SOC2 is not a certificate. It's a report. It gives an auditor's opinion on the effectiveness of your controls over a period of time, usually 6 to 12 months. It's very detailed, very narrative, hugely popular in the U.S.
So if I'm simplifying, certification says we have a secure system built, and attestation says we watched them use the system for a year, and it seems to work.
That's a rough but pretty good way to put it. But here's the problem with both of them. even at level 2. They are snapshots.
Snapshots? What do you mean?
If I audit you in January and you pass with flying colors, what happens in July?
A lot can happen in 6 months. A lot of patches can be missed. A lot of firewalls can be misconfigured by a junior admin at 3 a.m.
Exactly. The point-in-time audit is losing its relevance in a cloud world that changes literally every second. This is why the CSA is pushing so hard for level 3, continuous monitoring.
This sounds like the holy grail of compliance.
It is, and it's hard. Level 3 isn't a PDF you download, it's a data stream. It involves hooking your cloud provider's security telemetry directly into a monitoring platform that validates your security posture in near real time.
So if my encryption key rotation fails at 2:00 p.m. on a Tuesday, the STAR registry knows about it almost instantly.
In theory, yes, that's the goal. It moves compliance from an annual event to an always-on state of being.
Is anyone actually doing this today, or is this still sci-fi?
It's still rare, but it's happening. It requires a level of radical transparency that makes a lot of lawyers very, very nervous. But for high-assurance sectors, government, defense, critical infrastructure, this is where the puck is going. If you aren't thinking about continuous audit, you are already behind the curve.
Speaking of being behind the curve, we are recording this in February 2026. And the last 2 years have been utterly dominated by one topic.
The AI revolution.
The robot uprising, or at least the chatbot uprising.
It changed everything overnight.
It did. And standard cloud controls, firewalls, passwords, IAM policies, they don't really work on a large language model, an LLM, do they? You can't firewall a hallucination.
You absolutely can't. AI introduced a completely new attack surface. Things like prompt injection, model inversion, data poisoning, sponge attacks. These weren't in the textbooks 5 years ago.
So the CSA had to adapt. They responded with the AICM.
The AI controls matrix.
How is this different from the CCM we've been talking about? Is it a replacement?
It's a companion. It's built on the same architecture as the CCM, but it layers in the specific weirdness and unique risks of generative AI. And importantly, it maps to the big AI regulations, like the NIST AI Risk Management Framework and the EU AI Act, which is huge for companies operating globally right now.
Let's talk about those specific risks. Give me some scary examples. What keeps you up at night regarding AI in the cloud?
Model poisoning is the big one, the one that's hardest to detect.
Walk me through that attack.
Imagine you are a hacker. Instead of trying to break into the bank's vault, which is hard, you break into the data source the bank's AI uses to learn fraud detection.
The training data.
Exactly. And you subtly poison the data. You don't do anything obvious. You just teach the AI over millions of examples that transactions under $5,000 from this specific IP address range are always safe.
So you're not breaking the AI, you're miseducating it. You're creating a permanent blind spot in its brain.
A blind spot, exactly. And the scary part is the AI doesn't know it's been poisoned. It's just learned a pattern. It's extremely difficult to detect after the training is done. It's like the movie Inception for machine learning.
That's terrifying.
It is. And then there is the supply chain problem. The pizza analogy gets even messier and more complicated with AI.
How so? The shared responsibility model gets bigger.
It explodes. In a simple SaaS app, you had the provider and the customer, 2 parties. In a modern AI app, you have at least 4. In a modern AI app, you have at least 4. 1, the model provider, MP, the folks who built the brain, like an OpenAI or Anthropic. In a modern AI app, you have at least 4. 2, the orchestrated service provider, OSP, the platform gluing it all together, like a cloud provider's AI service. In a modern AI app, you have at least 4. 3, the application provider, AP, the company that built the app you are actually using. In a modern AI app, you have at least 4.
4, and crucially, the data sources used for training and fine-tuning.
So who is responsible when the AI leaks sensitive customer data? Who gets sued? That is the multi-billion-dollar question every lawyer is asking. The AICM attempts to define this. It focuses heavily on a concept called data provenance.
Provenance? That's a fancy word for where did this come from?
Yes. It's a birth certificate for data. If you are using an AI model in your business, the AICM says you must be able to answer. What data was it trained on? Was it trained on copyrighted material? Was it trained on your competitor's public data? Was it trained on poisoned Reddit threads from a state actor?
If you don't know the ingredients, you shouldn't eat the pizza. Or in this case, you shouldn't deploy the AI.
Precisely. And in 2026, with the EU AI Act fully in force, I didn't know is not a legal defense. You are required to know the lineage of your model.
This feels overwhelming. I mean, we've covered the CCM, the STAR registry, levels 1, 2, and 3, the CIQ, the AICM. If I'm a security lead listening to this, I'm tired. I have a board meeting on Tuesday. I have 50 vendors to vet. I have no budget and no time. How does this alphabet soup actually help me sleep at night?
Let's bring it right down to the so what.
Yeah.
If you are that security lead, the CSA frameworks are your weapon against audit fatigue.
Explain that. How does it make my life easier?
You stop writing custom questionnaires. Just stop. It's a waste of your life and your team's time. If you are vetting a new vendor, your first step is to go to the STAR registry. See if they have a Level 2 certificate or attestation. If they do, 80% of your work is done.
And if they don't?
You ask for their completed CAIQ. If they won't give it to you or they don't have one, that is your answer.
Move on to the next vendor who takes security seriously.
Exactly. You immediately streamline your entire procurement and vendor risk management process. And secondly, you use the CCM as a translation layer.
The Rosetta Stone we talked about earlier.
Right. If your board asks, are we NIST compliant? And your auditors ask, are we ISO compliant? You don't need two separate redundant security programs. You align your program to the CCM, and then you just map it out. Yes, CCM Control IAM 01 satisfies NIST Control AC2 and ISO Control A2010.1.1.
It's a write once, comply everywhere model.
It's the only way to scale in a multi-cloud, multi-regulatory world. You cannot build a separate security program for every regulation. You will drown.
And finally, there's a connection to zero trust.
A huge one. The mantra of zero trust is never trust, always verify.
Right.
The CCM provides the checklist for zero trust. It tells you how to verify, gives you the 197 things you need to be verifying. It turns the buzzword into an actionable to-do list.
We are coming to the end of our time, and this has been heavy, but really necessary. We've gone from the Wild West of 2008 to the incredibly complex AI supply chains of 2026.
It's been quite a journey, and the pace is only accelerating.
I want to leave our listeners with one final provocative thought. We all talked about shadow IT in the past, marketing people using Dropbox without permission. But I think the new, much bigger danger is shadow AI.
Oh, that is the monster in the closet right now. Absolutely.
Your employees are using AI. Right now, they are pasting proprietary source code into public chatbots to debug it. They are uploading sensitive financial spreadsheets into public models to analyze them. If you aren't using frameworks like the AICM to govern that,
then you don't even know what your organization is running. You don't know where your most sensitive data is going. And in security, what you don't know will hurt you.
Trust is not a static state. It's not a certificate you hang on the wall and forget about for a year.
No. Trust is ephemeral. It must be earned every single day with every single log entry and every single API call. That's the idea behind STAR Level 3.
Continuous trust. That's the goal.
That's the mission.
Thanks for tuning in to InfoSec Bytes. Keep exploring our 100-plus episodes on information security, AI, cloud, quantum, and cybersecurity incident root cause analysis. Please like, subscribe. We are on various platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and share to stay connected and keep your cyber defenses strong. See you in the next episode. Stay tuned.